Now we go into section 9.3, which is the beginning of derivative, and it is talking about derivative and slope of a tangent line to a curve, which is the same as the derivative, by the way. And it is figuring out the derivative using the definition of derivative, and it goes through 4 steps to get there. So let's start with exercise number 16 in section 9.3. Exercise number 16. Again, I want to remind you that the answers to the odd number problems are given to you, the complete answer, so you can study those separately. Number 16, it says use the four-step process to find the slope of the tangent line to the graph of the given function at any point. Again, the slope of a tangent line, as I said, is the same as the derivative of a function. So here, number 16, the function is given to you as f of x equal to 2x squared plus 5x. Here we say the slope of a tangent line is the same as f prime of x, which is the notation for derivative, and it is equal to the limit of this function, f of x plus h minus f of x divided by h as h approaches 0. So what we have to do is we have to go through steps and come up and evaluate this function. And then once we simplify it, then force h towards 0, and that's how we find the slope of tangent line or the derivative. So first thing we have to do is to find f of x plus h. So f of x plus h. That means in your function, wherever you have x, you replace x plus h. So you're evaluating your function at x plus h. So this would be equal to 2. In place of x, you put x plus h squared minus plus 5 times x plus h. Therefore, this is equal to 2. Simplify this or factor this first parenthesis. It would be h squared plus 2h. This is a special rule, special product rule, plus h squared plus 5x plus 5h. Then multiply 2x squared plus 4xh plus 2h squared plus 5x plus 5h. This is your f of x plus h, which would go and replace this one in evaluation. And it says minus f of x here. F of x is the function as it is. So I'm ready to plug values into this quotient up here. This would be, it says f of x plus h, which I already found. It is this whole thing. So I write it 2x squared plus 4xh plus 2h squared plus 5x plus 5h. That's the first part. That's f of x plus h minus f of x. F of x is this up here. This is f of x. When you say minus f of x, you have minus f of x. That means both signs here and here would change. So it will become minus 2x squared and minus 5x. Minus 2x squared minus 5x. Divided by, as you can see right here, divided by h. So here would be divided by h. Now we simplify this. 2x squared and minus 2x squared would cancel. Plus 5x and minus 5x would cancel. So what you would be left with is 4xh plus 2h squared plus 5h divided by h. All the terms in the numerator have h in them, so you factor out h would be 4x plus 2h plus 5 divided by h. Now the h in the numerator and the h in the denominator, they will cancel. Therefore, what you're left with is 4x plus 2h plus 5. Now, again, remember the idea was to take the limit. The idea was to take the limit and drive h to 0. So we simplify, and we are at the point of saying it is the limit of this function as h is driven to 0. Now, as you can see, the only place you have h is this middle term. As h is driven to 0, this middle term would get smaller and smaller, and it would end up being 0. In other words, this would look like 4x plus 2 times 0 plus 5. Therefore, 4x plus 5. This is the slope of a tangent line or derivative of the function. These are the 4 steps that we take to get to the slope of a tangent line or derivative of a function. Either way, it would be the same story. Let's look at another problem, number 22. It says, find the slope of a tangent line to the graph of each function at the given point and determine an equation of a tangent line to that point. So it's given you as f of x equal to 3 over 2x, and it wants you to find the equation of a line which is tangent to this curve at the point with the coordinates of 1 and 3/2. Well, to find the slope of a tangent line first, to find the slope of a tangent line, we have to figure out the derivative, f prime of x. And again, f prime of x is the limit of finding this f of x plus h minus f of x divided by h as h is driven to 0. So we have to find f of x plus h, subtract f of x divided by h, simplify, and then drive h to 0, and that would give us the slope. So let's get on, and first we are calculating f of x plus h. That means in your function, which just happened to be only one place where you have x, in your function you plug in for x plus h. So this would become 3 divided by 2 in place of x is x plus h, which is equal to 3 divided by 2x plus 2h. That is this part. f of x, well, f of x is the function itself. So what I have to evaluate is this again. I have to evaluate this one, this part here. Simplify. So f of x plus h in the numerator, we already calculated it, is 3 divided by 2x plus 2h. Minus f of x is minus 3 divided by 2x. The whole thing divided by h. The whole thing divided by h. Now, equal to, if I take the common denominator in the numerator, it would be 2x times 2x plus 2h. The numerator here would be 3 times 2x minus 3 times 2x plus 2h. The whole thing divided by h. I'm going to simplify the numerator. That would be equal to 6x minus 6x minus 6h divided by 4x squared plus 4x h divided by h. Now this 6h and minus 6h, they would cancel. So in the numerator, all I have is 6 minus 6h divided by 4x squared plus 4xh divided by h. If I give a denominator 1, then I would multiply this numerator by this denominator and divide it by this denominator multiplied by this numerator. So that would be equal to, minus 6h times 1 is minus 6h, and h times 4x squared plus 4xh equal to, this h in numerator, this h in denominator, they would cancel. Therefore, I have minus 6 divided by 4x squared plus 4xh. To find f prime of x, which again is the slope of a tangent line, I have to find the limit of minus 6 divided by 4x squared plus 4x times h and drive h to 0. As you notice, the only place I have h is right here. So as h is driven to 0, this term is the only term which is affected. What would happen is as h is driven to 0, this term, the whole term would be driven to 0. Because it would be 0 times x, which is 0, 0 times 4 is 0. Therefore, the limit would be equal to minus 6 divided by 4x squared. If I want, I can make this a little bit simpler, and the 6 in the denominator, divide denominator and numerator by 2. So f prime of x is equal to minus 3 divided by 2x squared. Now, This is the slope of a tangent line at any point, at any x. That's what I mean by any point. So in order, again, this is slope of tangent line. Now, if you recall, the problem was telling you find the slope of a tangent line at the given x. Let me go up. There we go. At x of 1. At x of 1. So what I have to do is go ahead and plug in for x1 here. In other words, evaluate the function at the x of 1. So that would be equal to minus 3 divided by 2 times 1 squared, which is equal to minus 3 divided by 2, which is equal to minus 3/2. So the slope is minus 3/2 at that point. Now, if I want to find the equation of the line, the formula to find the equation is basically y minus y1 equal to m, which stands for slope, times x minus x1. M is the slope, and x1 and y1 are the coordinates of one point. Well, the slope I already found right here, and the coordinates of that one point I'm looking for is given in the problem. There is the coordinates of the point, 1 and 3/2. The x value is 1, the y value is 3/2. So x1 equal to 1, y1 equal 3/2. I plug them in here. So this would be y minus y1 is 3/2, correct? Equal to slope, we found it to be minus 3/2. It's just a coincidence, the number are the same. X minus x1, again given in the problem, is 1. If I simplify this, y minus 3/2 equal minus 3/2 x plus 3/2. So y is equal to minus 3/2 x plus 3/2, and take this 3/2 to the other side, it would also become plus 3/2. Therefore, y is equal to minus 3/2 x plus 3. This is the equation of tangent line at point 1 and 3/2 to the function f of x equal to 3 divided by 2x. Again, if you want, you can draw that 3 divided by 2x using the calculator online, and you would see that everything is figured out completely. You can see it visually that way. Another problem, let's do an application problem in this section 9.3. Problem number 34. Cost of producing surfboards. The total cost C of X in dollars incurred by Aloha Company in manufacturing X surfboards at the given day is given by C of X equal to minus 10X squared plus 300X plus 130. For X value between 0 and 15, inclusive of 0 and 15, find C prime of X. Find C prime of X, and then what is the rate of the change of the total cost when the level of production is 10 surfboards a day. So two things. Number one, find f prime of or c prime of x, and the other one is asking you what is the rate of change of the total cost when the level of production is 10 surfboard a day. Well, this is basically the definition of derivative. C prime of x is the derivative of the function. So let's write number 34. C of x is given as minus 10x squared plus 300x plus 130 for x value greater than or equal to 0, less than or equal to 15. As x is the number of surfboard. First, you want to find c prime of x. Again, using the 4 steps, using the definition of derivative, it would be equal to the limit of, in this case, c of x plus h minus c of x divided by h as h is driven to 0. So first we have to evaluate this quotient here. So we're going to do the same thing as before. First, c of x plus h. Okay? That c of x plus h is equal to minus 10 x plus h squared plus 300 times x plus h plus 130. So this would be equal to minus 10 times x squared plus 2xh plus h squared plus 300x plus 300h plus 130. Simplify. Minus 10x squared minus 20xh minus 10h squared plus 300x minus 300, plus 300h plus 130. This is c of x plus h. In the formula, it says c of x plus h minus c of x. Again, c of x is the function itself. This is c of x. So I'm going to put them in this quotient here. Replace everything. This whole thing is c of x plus h. So I'm going to redo this. I'm going to rewrite this a long division line. So minus 10x squared minus 20xh minus 10h squared plus 300x plus 300h plus 130. Then minus c of x. Minus c of x is minus the function itself. So that means everything here, since we are saying minus c of x, everything here would change the sign. So this would be basically plus 10h squared minus 300x and minus 130 divided by h. So let's see what we can cancel. I have minus 110h squared plus 10h squared minus, they would cancel. Plus 300x minus 300x would cancel. 130 and minus 130 would cancel. Now, this happens all the time when you do these problems. What you end up with is terms that all of them have h in them. You end up with that so that you can cancel with the denominator h. So if you have something which doesn't have an h, you made a mistake. So this would be equal to, factor out h between these, the one in the circle. So I say h times minus 20x minus 10h plus 300 divided by h. Now this h and this h would cancel, and therefore what I'm left with is minus 20h plus 10h plus 300. Now this is a simplified form. Now I have to take the limit of this, minus 20h plus 10h plus 30, and drive h to 0. Again, when you drive h to 0, the only place you have h is this term. So this term would be driven, the whole thing would be driven to 0, and you would be left with minus 20h plus 30. Minus 20h, not 30, 300. Why did I get 30? It's 300, 300, 300. And this is your C prime of x, minus 20x plus 300. That's the derivative. That's part A. The part B here is basically using the definition of the slope. It says, what is the rate of change of the total, the rate of change, that is referring to the slope, of the total cost when the level is 10 surfboards a day? Well, all it is, you evaluate this function at h sub 10. So it would be minus 20 times 10 plus 300. So C prime of 10 would be equal to minus 200 plus 300. So C prime of 10 is equal to 100. That is, these are the costs, by the way, so if you remember, that's $100 per surfboard. That's what that number is.